Welcome, everybody, to the return of the Unstoppable podcast. And I'm your host, Ralph Graves Jr. Guys, it's been a minute, but we are happy to be back and relaunching this podcast. And I felt it was so fitting to relaunch this podcast with this particular guest. He's a friend of mine, but not because he's a friend of mine, but because he has so much insight on what we're going to talk about today, being unstoppable and pouring into our the next generation. My friend, I'm gonna call him Coach John Small. What's up, brother? How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Ralph? Thanks again for having me on, man. I'm honored.
Man, I'm just so glad to have you back on the program. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, man.
Since you asked me back on, I've thought about it. I've laughed. I can't wait to just talk and
Yeah.
And last time I knew we had a particular topic. It was right after George Floyd, and we were talking about specific things. And
Sure.
I really don't know where we're going with this one tonight, but I kind of like that too, man. Let's just do it, and see where it goes.
I think that the audience ought to be warned that John and I have a history. Goes back to high school where we were rivals that have now become very close friends. I don't even know how that even happened. I coached 1 or 2 years where he was coaching. I was coaching football, and you ever meet? We just clicked, man.
It was an instant bond. It was instant bond. Yep.
Instant bond, man. And,
yep.
And here we are today, years later, and here we are today. Well, man, look, I had you on this program. I'm going to bring you back, man, because of just not only your work with children and work in school, but as a football coach.
Yep.
A lot of parents, a lot of kids, they don't know what it takes, or they might be wondering what it takes when they talk about next level, when they talk about being unstoppable. But before we get into that, man, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves, man? How did you become a coach? When did you start coaching? When was your first coaching? When did you really learn how to coach?
Well, I mean, I was a multi-sport athlete growing up. Looking back on it now, I was probably a better baseball player than a football player. And I had some offers to play baseball in college, but there's no way I was giving up on football. And I guess my football level was more like D3, D2, and baseball was a little bit higher, but I wasn't good enough to play football at, Alabama or somewhere like that. So, and I was dating my wife in high school, and she was staying local. So I wound up going to Glassboro State at the time. I played there. And that's really, I was debating between being a state trooper and being a phys ed teacher and a coach.
Okay.
And I just had some really good role models growing up. I mean, I grew up poor. I grew up a single mom, and I leaned on my coaches a lot growing up, and I wanted to kind of give that back. Yeah. And that was kind of my main thing. Plus just my absolute love of the game, which is faith, family, football. I use the hashtag all the time, and there couldn't be a more perfect hashtag for me in my life. Yeah. My faith is unspoken. My family's always coming first here on earth anyway. And football's next, man. And I don't really have any hobbies. It's football. And now that my kids are older, it's all football. I mean, they all went their separate ways. My oldest got married. He's having a baby in April. Yeah. My youngest is living down at college. It's a whole nother story. My daughter's now a kindergarten teacher. So, I mean, I have a lot of time, and it's all football. And, it's something that's important to me. It's something that, I don't. It's funny. Do you remember the Sports Illustrated cover? It was Warren Sapp and John Gruden when they were with Tampa Bay, and Gruden's making like the face like this, and Sapp's like whatever. But
I remember that.
There were many nights where it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still working, and I look over, and it was almost like Gruden was looking at me. And if you remember Gruden, all the 3 a.m. and I'm up at 3:15 and all, and that actually kept me up some nights, because I was like, I'm not going to bed. Gruden would stay up, and to this day, like this past weekend, we just found out we're going to play Camden Eastside. If I say Woodrow Wilson during this podcast, right. I apologize, but I've said Woodrow Wilson for 40 years, so it's hard to get that. But
of course,
we play Camden Eastside Saturday, and I slept 5 hours over the weekend, Saturday night, Sunday night, 5 hours total, just trying to get a game plan to try to, go in there and be successful. And some people are like, you're crazy for doing that kind of stuff, but it's just who I am. I mean, I'm all in all the time, and it's just who I am at this point. But I just love coaching. I love giving back. I love being with the kids. I love helping the kids. I said a kid texted me. He's like, Coach, I got to leave early tomorrow just while I was waiting for you to come on. And I said, listen, man, you got to do what you got to do. It's a job interview. He has to go. I mean, it's playoff week. You got to do it. And I said, well, we'll work it out. And then I texted him back at the end and I said, I'm really proud of you. And I said, I was hard on you this year because I think you could be great. And you responded, and I'm proud of you for that. He's like, I love you, coach.
Yeah.
That was 2 minutes ago.
I love that. So I'm a young guy. I'm 25. I'm 26. I want to get into coaching. I'm single, whatever the case may be. What would you tell me? How do I get into this coaching thing?
Now you have a background in playing though.
I have a background in playing.
Okay, so
there's two roads because some of them don't, but I do have a background.
Right. Okay, so you got to take your experiences you have. I mean, you played for a great coach in Corby, and certainly a great program. I mean, I never beat Deptford growing up in anything. I mean, it was always you're playing Deptford, you're getting whooped. And it was funny because the other day, me and my wife have been together since 1985, but we broke up for 3 days one time our senior year.
Okay.
And we had played Deptford on homecoming, and I actually had a really great game, even though we got crushed. So all my boys wanted to go out and do some of that. She wanted to go to like a homecoming dance or something. So I went with them, and we wound up. And it was just the other day. It was 38 years ago or something like that. But
right.
It was Deptford evolved in that again, and that was Zach Dumas and Billy Williams and all those guys, Ralph Graves, and that was a great team. And so you got to take your experiences and build off that. I mean. I've learned from so many people, and that's the other part about being a coach. I look at it like I want to learn something new every day. Okay. If I go to a coaching clinic in Atlantic City, like if we go down there like the Glazier Clinic or Nike Clinic or something, people go down there, get away from their wives, party for the weekend, go gamble, whatever else they do, just, whatever. I go down there to learn. And if I could bring one thing back from that clinic, then the 3 days I'm down there was worth it. Could be a drill.
Yeah.
Could be, how to punters, these guys do these, the rugby style punts. It could be anything. But if I learned one thing, then it was all worth it. And if I was going to get a young coach in, like my youngest son wants to coach.
Okay.
So, he can't jump in and just take over the defense because he's got my blood in him or something like that. You know what I mean? He's got to learn the processes of how you game plan, how you break down film. And I think, you take Bill Belichick as an example. He takes these young guys that have like you never heard of before, and he sticks them in a room. He says, break down these 3 games, and I want every detail. And then he gives them back the report. It's just red all over it. And there's like eye-opening for you. Yeah. And I think you have to, that's extreme, but I think you have to, just be all in. I mean, I'm not saying football's got to be your life because that's a little, shallow, but I think you just have to immerse yourself in it and every aspect of it and just keep looking at it like, I'm never going to stop learning. I can learn from everybody. Everybody I come in contact with within the game, you can learn from, whether it's reading a book, watching YouTube, watching a video. I mean, I got so many coaching tapes. I probably spent $10,000, $15,000 on coaching tapes over the years.
But Coach, what you're describing, and this is why I love the game of football. And listeners, if you never played football, this is bigger than football.
Yeah.
What you're describing is what it takes to be successful in anything.
Oh, without a doubt.
In anything. There are extra hours. There's time. There's studying. You still have to be, here's that word, you still got to be coachable.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're right. And you know what? My drive that I have, like last year it was like Brett's getting married, and I'm like, all right, I got to get in shape for his wedding. I've been struggling with that. I got bad knees. I got bad this, bad that. Yeah. So I got back into working out, and once again, like that it clicked. And I was gym at 4:30 in the morning. Boom, boom, boom. Now I just tore my rotator cuff and probably need surgery because I think I'm 30 instead of 55. But it is what it is.
Yeah. But I love that you described what you described, man, the putting in the work. And that's what it takes to be unstoppable. Yep. And that's what it takes to make it, and also resilience as well. But let me ask you this. Share with us, and I know some of the stories, but share with us, man, a hard period in your life where, you know what, I just had to work through it. Everything, it's different, but everything is going to be okay. Come on, share one of those moments with us.
Sure. Timber Creek, when Timber Creek opened, it was, I was coming off coaching at Deptford with Al, and we had a couple championship seasons and we were really good. And, Timber Creek offered me the job. So I'm a 10-year teacher. I got 3 little kids. I gave up tenure, jumped over to Timber Creek. Well, I'm not going to point fingers at anybody, but right from the get-go, it was a bad situation. Like a really bad situation. It was something like, well, I'm stuck here now, and there's no way out for me. So I worked through it, and we didn't win enough. I mean, the school had 1 win prior to me being there, We won 9 games in 3 years. We were in probably 15 of the 21 we lost, and she fired me. So now I'm 38 years old. I don't have a job. And, a lot of people right there would kind of go in the tank. But I came home. My wife met me at the front door, and I told her, don't worry about it. The next day, I got offered a job 24 hours later because I had faith. I did what I had to do. Yeah. I didn't point fingers. I didn't pout. People wanted me to fight it, get lawyers, all this other stuff. And I said, I got this. Yeah. And I got into another job, just kept coaching. That's when we wound up at Deptford. And, I just head forward. I can't tell kids you got to be all in and do things all the time and do things the right way. And then when it's my turn to do that, cowered out of it and try to get, backdoor or something like that. So I just did pretty much what I believe in and pretty much what I kind of preach. And, and it was my turn to do it. And then, like I said, 24 hours, I had a job.
Wow, man, that's something else. I mean, you can't throw in the towel just because you got bad news.
Nope.
You can't throw in the towel.
I mean, listen, I had the perfect opportunity. I remember it was in Timber. I live in Gloucester Township. Timber Creek's there. My kids were in Little League. Brett was anyway. People are asking me, what happened? What happened? What happened? Like it was a year of just, and I just, I didn't make excuses. I didn't point fingers. I didn't do anything. I just said, okay, I got this. Yeah. And once again, I say it all the time and God's plan. And, when I say God's plan to like my kids and stuff, like my daughter's boyfriend just broke up with her and she was crushed out of nowhere. Okay. And I said, it's God's plan. And I said, listen, we can't say it's God's plan when things go good. It's God's plan when things go bad as well. Yeah. So you can't just believe that, okay, that was the plan because it's a success. It's also the plan when it's a failure because guess what? This happened, but the road, the next thing might be 100 times better. Right. We don't know where this is leading, but, you have to have faith. You got to take the first step before you could see the steps, before you could see the whole staircase. And, it's hard sometimes. And, and people question things. I mean, this stuff going on over in Israel and stuff, it's heartbreaking. It's terrible. Yeah. Absolutely heartbreaking. It's like, and people are like, oh, well, yeah, God, why would God allow those things to happen? Well, I mean, we don't know. No. We don't know the answer. We can't make a phone call. God, why is this happening? But just you got to pray for those people and hopefully that it ends and it can end peacefully before too many people are hurt or killed. And it's sad, man.
Let me ask you about this, man. I too married my high school sweetheart. We're lucky. We're lucky.
Yeah, we're rare too. We're not 1%, man.
We're lucky. We were young.
Yep.
I'm going to ask you something personal. I know she's going to watch this too.
Sure.
Would you recommend youngsters getting married as young as we did?
Well, we waited till the end of college. How old were you when you got married?
Oh, man, I was 20, just turned 23.
Okay, we were like 25. So we waited. She got the job first. We started planning our wedding, and then I got my job, and then we got married, got a house that, right on down the line. I think it's got its pluses and minuses. Yeah. I mean, I know you speak so highly of your wife and the way you post and like, me as well. I mean, I'm not ashamed to put it out there. I mean, people say things to me like, it's so nice to see a man like putting it out there, like how much he loves his family, how much he loves his wife. Well, of course I do. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm proud of that.
Well, shout out to these women because they knew us when we were boys.
That's a good point too. I tell her that all the time, but she's like, oh yeah, the whole weekend's football. I go, listen, you knew in 1985 what you were getting into. Well,
but that's true. This, man. They knew us since we were boys. But let me ask you this, man. Where have you grown the most and what has caused that growth? When you think about you as a man, where have you grown the most and what has caused that growth for you?
I think I'm more understanding and forgiving as I've gotten older. I think when I was younger, if somebody did something that was mean or not right, that I would kind of cut them off and like they'd be dead to me kind of. I think as I've gotten older, I've it's funny I'm saying this because there's a bad story attached to this, but I think I've by having kids, I've seen the world in like kind of a different light, and they're branching out on their own now, and it's like we don't, let's say we don't like this one's family or this one's, it's not our decision. So I think I've been able to kind of put those feelings aside. Listen, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't have a fake bone in my body. Like if I'm with somebody I don't like, I'm going to be quiet.
Yeah.
And I don't get mean or mad or anything like that, but I get real quiet. And, I've been able to, got at 55 years old, but I've been able to kind of put those things aside and just kind of be more understanding that, not everybody's like me. Not everybody's all like I have people who are like, how did you get through coaching when your kids were little and your wife was stuck with the kids all day? But you were with me. My kids were with me all the time at practice.
Yeah, all the
They're
time.
with they came with me all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that helped her.
Yeah.
It also made it easier for me, like instead of putting in all those hours, that they were with me all the time, building forts with the bags and things like that.
Right.
But I think I've been able to kind of like understand people that aren't like that. That people like say they don't want to coach because they're going home fight with their wife because they have babies at home and stuff like that. Like I think I'm more appreciative of the fact that those people have to do what's best for them and not what's not everybody's like us, man. Not everybody's. When you're all in, like I have an all in personality, and when I'm all in, and it doesn't matter what it is. Like I said, tore my rotator, at the gym, working out with 20-year-olds, like I'm a lunatic, and or all in, trying to diet for Brett's wedding, or all in. I'm sure I'm gonna be all in as a grandfather, and like, it's who I am. But I think I've become more understanding of people who aren't that.
And let me say this too about this grandchild, man. I have 3 of them. You don't know love until that grandchild looks at you and says, Pop, man, everybody else can beat it. Everybody else can get gone.
It's a really exciting time. It really is. It's a real exciting time.
Yeah.
And I feel like he was a kid. Like I was his best man at his wedding, and which was a great honor too. I mean, when I gave the speech, I talked about like things you have to do to stay married and things like, I always said, you have to find a way. There's always a way through. You don't, in this generation of instant gratification and what have you done for me lately, and how easy it is to walk away from a marriage. And you're talking to 2 guys here who've been, we're closing in on 40 years, man.
Yeah.
And like, so I feel like I have that enough background to be able to talk on that it's not always easy, man. It's not always easy. She was mad at me this morning. I left school. I left here this morning. She was mad at me. But, you come home and you go through the day, and, I sent her a text at like 3:00 before I went to practice. I'm like, love you. She's like, love you. I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yeah. And I think what the listeners need to understand and the audience needs to understand is that just keep showing up.
Yep.
Show up 100% in your relationship.
Yep.
At your job, on the football field, whatever you're doing, show up, be present.
It's just so easy to quit now. It's so easy to give up. It's so easy to just, this is such a blame generation and finger pointing generation. And, it's never your fault. And it's like, my kid's not playing. Like we've always had those parents that my kids don't play enough and blah, blah, blah. Right. But now it's like, it's your fault. You're costing them a scholarship. Well, guess what? Scholarships, like they don't hand those things out, man. No. They're not standing on the corner handing out scholarships.
No.
I mean, my own son, like, he was 2-time All-South Jersey, 2-time on the All-State team. Like, I saw how hard that was. They're like, well, he's 6'1", 210. Like, maybe like, I mean, here's a kid. He had a 3.0. He had a good SAT. We were at the Naval Academy, West Point, all these other places. And it's like, they don't just hand them out. It's
I went through it with my own son.
Yeah.
There's something called a depth chart. See, they're number 1 on our depth chart.
Without a doubt. Right. Without a doubt.
You start looking at those other charts.
Yeah.
They ain't number 1 at the other chart.
Right. Well, see, and people ask me, they're like, because I was able to coach Brad for the 4 years, and like, they're like, what was it like coaching your son? And I said, on the field, I was his coach.
Yeah.
Like there was no daddy ball. There was no, like, I wasn't extra mean to him or extra nice to him. He was my linebacker. He was a captain. He was my, he was my best defensive player at the time. Right. But once we got in the car, I didn't talk football. If he wanted to talk football, he brought football up to me. At home, he'd come down with his Chromebook, be like, Dad, look at us play. Like, how should I, like, I never, like, people are like, oh, well, Brad got good because you probably had him jammed in the closet, look, doing plays and watching film. That never happened one time. Never happened once.
Yeah, well, I remember Brad when he was young. Brad had an energy when he was young, man. That was, he was, everything he did 100%.
100%.
And he would throw the football at me and hit me in the back as hard as he could.
He wanted to be a Navy SEAL, dude. I mean, that's but he had a bad injury this year, and it's kind of sad. And
we're going to talk about that. Let's talk about that injury. So he's playing ball, and he's making a tackle. What happened?
Right. Well, first day in pads, he breaks his hand, dislocates his pinky. He was like out like Brian Baldinger, and broke his hand. So didn't miss a practice. Got the cast on, playing with it wrapped up. So now here comes the first game. Second play of the game, he makes a tackle, goes head to head. The kid come in with his knee, sliding in with his knee too. So we're not sure if it was the head to head or the knee.
Okay.
But he's on the ground face down. Wow. And his legs on going a weird angle. Now we're sitting way up in the stands, and I'm like, he's out. I could just tell the way he went down, he was out.
Yeah.
So we start walking down. I'm watching his leg to see if it moves. His leg's like out on a 45, didn't move.
Yeah.
So by the time we get down there, he's unconscious. He was out for 50 seconds and didn't move for 3 minutes.
Okay.
He started with like this hand twitching thing, and I'm like, is this his involuntary final movement? Like, so I'm literally standing over my son on the football field. Me, 14 years as a player, 32 as a coach, and here's my kid laying here. Yeah. And I'm just praying, please don't let him be paralyzed. Please don't let him be paralyzed. Yeah. He's like spitting up foam. And, I was just praying. And then all of a sudden, I saw them move his leg.
Okay.
As soon as they moved his leg, I realized, all right, well, this is not a complete spinal injury. They wanted to touch him.
Right.
So when he rolled over, he's like spitting up foam and stuff. And his eyes are just rolled back in his head. And they cut the uniform off, the board, the whole thing. And, I rode to the hospital with him. I got tears coming down my face. And I kept asking, Bud, I'm here, that he wasn't answering me. And then, we get to the hospital, and he's got movement, and his eyes are just, glassy as I've ever seen him. He wasn't there. He was like Ed the hyena from the Lion King. He was like, he's like,
Yeah.
So they take him in, and they do all these tests. They check for, brain injury and bleeding and all this other stuff. And they passed him, and his neck wasn't broken.
Okay.
So they just ruled it as a severe concussion. But when he starts coming to, you'll like this. He starts coming to in the hospital. He's like, Dad. I'm like, yeah, bud, I'm right here. He goes, I hit that kid so hard. That's the first thing he said.
That's a football player, right?
That's the first thing he said.
Player.
Yeah, it was awesome, dude. Like I had to crack up laughing.
Yeah.
But so they ruled him out for the year, gave him a medical red shirt if he's going to use it. I don't know what he's going to do, but he keeps saying, I'm not going out that way. This is his third concussion, second time knocked out. Me getting a Highland job and him coming start coaching with me might be, once again, God's plan. And that would be great. And for, coaching keeps you in. It's not the same. It's not the same. We're old football players. It's not the same.
Right.
But it's second best. You know what I mean? It keeps you in it. And, listen, man, I said some prayers that night for sure. And that was tough.
Well, man, let's help somebody before we wind this up. Let's help some parents of athletes who are trying to get, or their child expressed an interest to play at another level. Everybody wants to go D1, but nobody ever talks about 1AA or 2 or 3 or the other conferences, NAIA.
Right.
You're a teacher, you're an educator, and you're a coach. Two things I want to ask. What's the number one thing that keeps them from going to the next level?
Grades.
We'll talk. What's the grades? Say it again.
Grades.
There you go.
100%. Not even debatable.
Okay.
I've coached more than one kid over the years who a coach will be like, let's say Westchester, D2.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, you got anybody for us? Because we really like the safety you have. So, yeah, he's got a 1.6, coach. I'm like, all right, done. They don't even look at him.
Don't even look at you.
That easy. Nope.
Yeah. So
nope.
it's not politics. It's
nope.
not race. It's not racism.
No.
It's not that the team was garbage. It's grades.
Nope.
And I wanted the athletes to hear you say it.
100%.
You're an educator and you're a coach.
Yep.
And so when they come ask for these kids, the first thing they ask about,
without question, it's grades.
Wow.
Yep. We have kids right now that the one kid last May was failing 5 classes in May. Well, school ends in June, and you can only take 2 in summer school. It's like, and the kid's good. He's good.
Yeah.
But, it's probably the easiest thing to maintain, because not everybody's a Division I player. Not everybody's a Division II player. But guess what? If you're playing at college on any level, you were a good high school player.
And you're a college football player,
anywhere,
no matter what level you're on.
Anywhere. Anywhere. Yep.
Yeah.
So the thing that's going to hold you back, and then what happens is, all right, so a kid bombs out in school And now he realizes he can't go to college. So I might have to go to junior college. Well, a lot of kids aren't going to want to put that time and effort into, but I'll go to a junior college and then try to transfer to Rowan or transfer to Westchester.
That's a lot of work. That's the hard way. That's the hard way.
And the thing is, they've already displayed that they don't have that work ethic on the back end where it's important. You're not in the weight room. You're not out on the field. You're not out on the track. It's in the classroom. Yeah. And these kids think that, that doesn't matter. Well, I'm good enough. I'm 2-time all conference. I'm a captain at Highland who was 5-5 2 years in a row. Like, I'm going to go play in the Big Ten. It doesn't work that way. Grades is the biggest deterrent and the easiest thing to fix if they put their mind to it and their heart to it. Just put the same effort into school that you're doing to your sport, and you'll be fine. Yeah. You don't have to be straight A's. You're not going to Princeton and Harvard.
Right.
And if you are straight A's, go to Princeton and Harvard.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because even when you play this game, it doesn't last long.
Nope.
I tease the young men that are around me now. They're in their 30s, 31, 32. They all played football, college ball. I said, well, if you were in the league, you'd be done by now. Just want to let you know.
Right.
You're 32. You're not chasing anybody 22. It's over.
I mean, look at Brad. Brad, they told Brad at one point, like, he's one of the only kids that has never missed a workout, like in like 5 years or whatever. So they didn't miss an off-season workout. Second play of the season's over.
Yeah.
And maybe career.
Yeah. And so, and what I think that sports teach us, and that's every sport, you have to have this work ethic. Mm-hmm. It's on the field, it's in the classroom. Even if you decide not to play collegiate sports, you still need it in the everyday work field, work life,
Right.
Playing college football or college sports is not every kid's dream. Nope. Some kids just want to, I'm done at high school. Right. But you still have to take it. You still have to take that work ethic.
I mean, I've laid out a blueprint, and if coach leaves and I get interviewed for the job, and some of the things I'm going to stress is school comes first. We're going to do community service. We're not getting in trouble in school. Yeah. We're going to be good. We're going to sit in the front of the rooms. We're going to have manners. We're going to do things the right way.
Yeah.
And guess what? The winning on the field will come because of doing all those things. When you have the work ethic in your life, and it goes from in the building, walking down the hallways, in the classroom, to your schoolwork, to the weight room, out to the field, all of a sudden, Nick Saban talks about the process all the time. When you do the process right, instead of looking at the end goal, I want to win a state championship. No. What does it take to get to a state championship? All right. What does it get to have a team full of guys who aren't messing around on the sideline during the game, and they're into the game and they're ready to go, and you're too deep? Or like Deptford used to roll in with 5 buses of kids, man. Yeah. That was intimidating as a kid. Yeah. You're a kid, Deptford shows up with 100 kids, man. It's like, whoa. Yeah. Well, I mean, so in order to get that, you have to have kids who just buy in. Like the Deptford kids, when you were a kid, they bought into Corby, man. Corby was a legend, and you see that at Delsey with Sal, and you see that Burlington Township with Madeira and some other places. And, they're not just, run of the mill, like we have a good year, have a bad year, have a good year, have a bad. Those teams are good every year. And that's for a reason, because that's a program. Those kids do everything the right way. Billy Fisher up at Seneca, dude. There's not a more well-rounded coach in South Jersey than Bill Fisher. Now, I don't know how many championships Seneca's won. Not sure. We lost to him by a point last year in the playoffs.
That's my quarterback. Bill's my quarterback.
Oh, he was my quarterback too.
Bill, my quarterback.
Yeah, he was my quarterback at Rowan too. So, or Glassboro at the time. But Billy does everything right, man. He's got his kids going into elementary schools, reading books to little kids. He's got the kids doing dinners and like doing things with the police and 9/11 with Andy doing the steps in his fire uniform, and like Fish does everything the right way. I told him that too. Yeah. Everything the right way. And like I said, last year we went up there, lost to him by a point in the semifinals, and he's just a great dude. He always was a great dude.
I have some aspiring coaches listening to this podcast. They're midget football coaches. They have kids that play, and midget balls, whatever, is what it is. And they're trying they try to run some defenses. Now I have to ask you, you are a defensive genius of a mind.
I don't know about that thing.
What is the easiest defense to teach these 8 and 9 year olds?
What I would get into now, we've morphed from the 4-3 to the 4-2-5 in the last couple of years.
Okay.
So the 4-2-5 is very similar to the 4-4, which everybody, it's divided right down the middle. So you're even. You got 2 outside linebackers, 2 ends, 2 tackles, 2 inside linebackers. The only difference is your safety. So a 4-4, I think on a midget level, you're balanced. There's a lot of blitz opportunities. I mean, listen, I coach my little guys in midgets growing up, and we're blitzing from everywhere. We got into the playoffs with Washington Township. They go, oh, yeah, there's no blitzing in this league. So we couldn't blitz in the finals. We lost 9-0 to them. but we were coming from everywhere. We had signs. We were doing all stuff. Kids are coming off the edges. But the 4-4 is it's very aggressive. It's balanced. It's easy to teach, and that's probably what I would run on a midget level.
Okay. Yep. Very good. Very good, man. Listen, I want to thank you for being on the Unstoppable podcast, man. The return of it. I know it was personal, a lot of inside things going on here, man. But I just wanted to talk to you again, man, and have you on and say thank you and share some of your knowledge. Now, I got to ask you, I got to ask you some stuff, man. That here's one. It's what I like to ask everybody. There's 2 things I want to ask everybody. But you, give me your Mount Rushmore all football all time.
Coaches. Wow. Well, I got to go.
Professional coaches.
Professional. Yes. All right. I got to go Belichick.
Okay.
Wow. Don Shula.
I had to put Shula there. Yeah.
Don Shula. Andy's climbing up the list. I mean, I'm not an Eagles fan, but Andy's climbing up the list. I mean, I know he's with the Chiefs now, but I won't put him in the top 4 yet. Lombardi.
Okay.
And
got one more.
Yeah. Lombardi. I'm going to forget somebody. I'm going to be mad when I get done.
So we got Shula, Belichick, Lombardi. Who else?
I'm debating between Bill Walsh, Chuck Noll, and Joe Gibbs.
You only get one of them.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to go Chuck Noll.
I was about to say, you got to go with ground Chuck.
I'm going to go Chuck Noll. He won 4 Super Bowls. And, I mean, Gibbs and Walsh certainly have their merit. And, like I said, Andy climbing up the chart. There's George Hallis. There's a bunch of I mean, we could go on and on forever.
Now you only get 4, brother.
Yeah.
And if you could have a billboard anywhere, where would it be and what would it say?
A billboard.
A billboard that everybody could read. And it's your quote and your name under it. Where would it be and what would it say?
All right, ready for this? And I'm dead serious about this. I'm putting it in Canton, Ohio.
Okay.
And it's going to say Faith Family Football #.
Well, there you have it, man. Thank you. Thank you for being on the podcast, back to the program with me, man. And I really appreciate you, man, and give your family my love. Guys, you've been listening to the Unstoppable Podcast. My name is Ralph Grace Jr. Tell somebody about this podcast. Make sure you tune in again real soon, and we'll see you again next time. God bless you.